Okay, so we're going to do a simple little exercise to demonstrate architectural modelling in SketchUp. The video is intended for educational purposes only, and to that end of acknowledging reference material, we're going to use a little plan that we've found published in a book called By Design, Changing Australian Housing by John Baird. And the plan that we're going to use to base this little exercise on is on page 55 of that book. I've taken the liberty of scanning in a copy of that plan, so we'll just show you what we can do to get started fairly quickly in SketchUp. We'll go up to the File menu and we'll go Import. Clicking on the Import button there. You need to change the files of type down to JPEG image. And then we need to browse to the particular folder where the file is kept. And in my particular case, I've browsed to that folder and I've selected the JPEG image, which I've called Cuthbert House. So we'll open up the JPEG image in SketchUp, and you can see it starts to come in already, located on the red-green axis plane. So we can just drop a copy of that image anywhere for now, and then we need to mouse click a second time to indicate how big we want that image to be. We really don't know how big that should be just at the moment, so I'll get you just to drop it somewhere so that you get the image coming in at some size to start with. Okay, I'll need to measure a length on this floor plan so I know how big this building should be, or this JPEG image should be. So first of all, go across to the tape measure tool, pick up your tape measure tool, and probably I'll use probably for the best accuracy, I'll use the largest dimension that I've got on this plan, which happens to be this 17.83 metre boundary distance. So if I click on one edge of the boundary with my tape measure tool, one corner of the boundary, now look how far I'm zooming up to make sure I get some degree of accuracy on this. So I'll just click in the middle of those blurred lines, then I'll zoom out, and then I'll go to the other end of the property, corner of the property, and click there. Now cast my eye down into the bottom right hand corner of the drawing, and you can see I've got a length of somewhere around about 4111 millimetres. So you'll need to do that yourself. You won't have the same answer as me, and then just jot that length down and take a note of that length. So I'm just going to zoom out now that I've got a note of that length there. I'll need to open up a calculator or get a calculator out on your desk, and I'll need to find out the scaling factor that should be. So in this particular case, we need that 17,830 dimension in our calculator. So I'll just do 17,830, and I'm going to divide that by the length that I found before, which in my case was 4111, and equals. So I can see I need to scale up my image by a factor of 4.337. Okay, so take a note of whatever you've got to do. I've got to do 4.337. So now that we know how far we've got to scale this particular image up, I can make sure I'm in the Select tool, and I can make sure I've selected that image, and then after it's selected, I can go and find my Scale tool, sort of indicating it over here for you. Go and find the Scale tool, then click on any one of the diagonal opposite corners, any one of the corners of the image, and click there and start to change the scale of that image. But as you're starting to change the scale of that image, what you really then need to do is actually type that number, which in my case was 4.337, and then press enter. You've now scaled that image up, and if you've done your maths correctly, the plan should now be the correct size. You can double check that by going back to your tape measure again and clicking on one corner of the property boundary again, dragging out, clicking on the other corner of the property boundary, and you want it to be somewhere around about the length that it should be. I'm getting something like 17,865. It really should be 17,830, but that's close enough for our purposes at this stage, because all we're going to be doing is we're using this JPEG image to roughly trace off the shape at the moment.